Uh, Sorry about that. Um, I don't have really a good setup for the camera, so this is my bedside stand, and my phone's very gently balanced on its edge and the headrest of my bed. Um, and also, my room is, you know, it's not very well lit because, frankly, I think it's a bit embarrassing to say the least if some of my neighbors accidentally glance in my general direction and see me talking to nobody. Um, so it's a slight strand of only one sheet of curtain has been opened for at least a little bit of light. Anyway, sorry for sidetracking. I figured if I was going to start, I would you know give you a little bit of an introduction to my surroundings first. Um, so today, I'll be talking about this book right here. It's called Project Hail Mary. I picked it up recently, 1 or 2 weeks ago, when I went outside with my friends. And recently, the movie starring Ryan Gosling had also come out. So um, I hadn't heard about this prior to the movie release. I hadn't seen the movie, but I have heard about its success, and I've heard that it's hope cause. So I decided to give it a try. Now, as someone who is interested in science and also in extension science fiction, I wanted to delve into this and see how good it is. Um, it's pretty good. I'll start with that. The way that the story is written is very engaging. I'd say that. I thought when I started reading this, one of the biggest turn-offs would be that either it is too science fictiony, as in the sense that it's not believable. It's just Star Wars type of extravagant science fiction that is not really plausible. So you have to step away from the realm of science fiction to fantasy for a bit. Um, so it wasn't that. It was, you can kind of see it happening a bit. At the same time, it wasn't science jargon throughout these nearly 500, 400 pages. It was, uh, it was narrated in a very entertaining way. And the premise is also extremely interesting because it takes the age old concept of alien invasion, alien species, and puts a nice twist to it. Because when we generally think about the human civilization being threatened by an alien species, we would think of like giant tentacle monsters with tech that's so superior to ours and intelligence far beyond what we could ever hope to achieve. But in this case, the threat that is posed to humanity is in the form of a microbe. I don't think this is a spoiler. I think this is already something that is pretty much known as the basic details of the story. So I think I can say that much. Um, so I think in that sense, it was a pleasant surprise to see that because that made it a bit more believable. you know I mean, obviously there are things there that are quite questionable. I'll get into that, but I really like the fact that it was a microbe that was festering like maggots on the sun, basically draining the sun of its essence and posing a threat to humanity and earth as a whole. I liked the way that this author headed with the story. And I'd say what I love about this book a lot is the main character and the way that he's presented. This man, Ryland Grace, the main character of this book, is such a great guy, and uh, he's not presented in a way that he's not like presented in a godlike way either. He's not considered like a messiah, like this guiding light or anything. He's still human. There are humans human traits to him, but he represents the best of humanity. The optimism, the trust, and all of the good qualities that a human could have. Ryland has. He's a really good person. He takes uh, you know he makes good decisions, and also makes human mistakes along the same time. So it makes him such a relatable, as well as a character that you can root for with all of your heart. I found that really enjoyable. Uh, at the same time, I kind of liked how the author incorporated, a slightly, I'd say, comedic tone to this otherwise dire situation here. Ryland is, to give you a little bit of a plot overview, he is basically entrusted with the mission to save the entirety of humanity. He's drifting off in a spaceship alone. Millions, sorry, not maybe millions, but which what should I use? Thousands. I don't exactly know the distance, but a bunch of light years away. Okay, he's very far away from Earth, and I think it'd probably be the farthest that a manned mission has ever gone. Uh, and let me just check if I'm going into. Yeah, I'm not going into spoilers. So this thing is written in the back of the book. So before you beat me up, I'm not. I'm not. Trudging in spoilers territory. He is a lone survivor in this entire mission, and he's essentially floating alone in space, millions of kilometers away from his home, and he is entrusted with the task of saving humanity, but at the same time, his memory is fogged and he can't recall, recall anything. He has this particular set of skill sets. He knows that. He knows what to do. He doesn't know why why is he in this situation and how he should deal with certain things. And yeah, it is, if you look at it from that point, it is really traumatizing for someone to be in such a situation, because he doesn't even know in the beginning where he is. He doesn't even realize that he is in like this barren wasteland, I should say, or space. I use barren wasteland for space. He's surrounded by nothing but, cosmic entities. He's not surrounded by, people, anything. It's just him and the machines in his, in his vessel. That is all he has. But he is a very upbeat person, uh, and the way that he copes with such a situation is really, it kind of lightens the tone, and I kind of like that. I kind of like how he handled this entire isolation incident as well. And you know, I think the most enjoyable part for me when I read this, apart from the whole optimistic, uh, you know, the best of humanity aspect of it, is that it serves well as a science fiction, as in the sense of, if you are, a casual reader, if you are not somebody who is maybe, deeply involved in these subjects. Let's say you're someone who's, taken science for your higher education, then maybe you would be able to find flaws. But as a person, as a casual reader, you wouldn't read this book and feel like, that seems kind of not true, or seems like a stretch, or there are very less instances where you would think that the author pulled something out of his ass. It is mostly plausible in a way. And I've read the acknowledgement part as well. He obviously he collaborated with people who has a lot of expertise in these type of subjects. So that's probably why this is pretty accurate. in a lot of places, and he himself is delved into this sort of topics a lot. So that also makes sense why this story is more or less robust. Uh, Now I'll be getting into spoiler categories. Now, if you want to avoid it, you can skip ahead of this part. But there are a couple of things I'll be nitpicking here that I found to be a bit questionable, to say the least. Um, One of them is this. He meets. Okay, now I'm going into spoilers. I'm giving you a warning again, so don't jump me uh, in the comment section. Um, he meets Rocky, right? An alien, an actual intelligent alien species, unlike the astrophage, which is, just a destructive cellular, it's a microbe that is just that is just festering on the sun that is causing our downfall. But it's not exactly an intelligent species. It's a unicellular organism at the end. Um, but Rocky is obviously an alien species that whose intellect is around, or if not better than the human, than the humans. And something that I found a bit questionable is how well they were able to communicate afterwards. Initially, Rocky only can use sound for his communication. So what they did was that they conveyed simple things first, like yes or no. That can also be done by hand, by signing it. You don't necessarily need to make a noise for that to convey the point. So they established some basic words, and then they built upon their vocabulary, and they kind of gloss over it a little while. Like it is said that I think they spent like a couple of days just enriching their vocabulary and understanding each other's languages to a point where they can hold a conversation pretty well. Now, Iridians, that is Rocky's species, they live for like centuries. So I can understand how Rocky can remember all of the words that Grace has said. So that's why he's able to reply in kind in his own language. And Grace too, because he's accustomed to hearing similar sounds, he's able to associate them and store basic vocabulary, Iridian vocabulary in his mind. But um, I I'm genuinely curious about how they were able to communicate about certain things, like certain words. I don't know how you would communicate to someone in such a limited time frame. Like after a couple of chapters later, they don't have I think within a couple of chapters they're fluent in each other's languages, right? uh, Ryland doesn't really need his computer translator anymore, and they are able to converse with each other in their respective languages. That is Iridian. Then Rocky can speak Iridian. Race understands it. Race speaks English. Rocky understands it. But normal day-to-day words, fine. But scientific words, right? It is kind of crazy uh, how much quickly they knew all of this, because some of it kind of seems you know like at times I used to wonder how did they convey this to each other. uh, yeah, that is one part, but still it is like a nitpick. It doesn't bother me. It is something that I was curious of. That was one of the I'd say unbelievable aspects in the science fiction format for me. The second thing that is questionable is, this is again a spoiler category thing. So uh, they discover Tomiba, right? They go to Toseti and they find this amoeba-like creature that is feasting upon astrophage, and it is something that that will be the savior of their own species. So they rejoice, they're happy, but then they realize that the Tomiba is only accustomed to the climate that is in the Tolar system. I don't know the star system that consists of Tau Ceti. So to for it to so they have to make these Tomiba uh, live. They need to make sure that these Tomiba can live in the climates of Forty Eridani as well as Earth. So what they do is that they realize that nitrogen, a very uh, insanely abundant element in Earth's atmosphere. I mean, technically Venus is the one affected, but still nitrogen is present as well, I think, in Venus's atmosphere. And also their three world, uh, 40 Eridani's three world corresponding Venus, I forgot the word. Uh, yeah, the plan is similar to Venus for the 40 Eridani's, the three world. They have the the nitrogen problem as well. So they have to modify the Tomiba so that they can be sustained in their respective habitats. And what they do is that they breed them in tanks uh, by you know, slowly introducing nitrogen into the breeding tanks, slowly increasing it, so that they can withstand higher and higher levels of nitrogen they keep increasing it until it reaches the level that is desired. Um, Here's the issue. I'm not someone. I'm like I said. I'm a casual reader. I'm not someone who has higher education. I'm not someone who has done higher education in sciences or anything. So um, as a common man, it is a bit puzzling because they evolved, I think, a bit too fast. No, it took them only, I think, like a couple of weeks for them to evolve from being, nitrogen being lethal to them, to them being able to survive up to 8.25 percentage of nitrogen in the three worlds atmosphere. And it is kind of, and also afterwards, we also see that because they were bred in the xenonite tanks, they also develop a resistance against xenonite. That is, they can go into xenonite as like a escape mechanism if the nitrogen levels get too high. Um, I am. That is again something that, as someone who doesn't have much knowledge of these sciences, that's something that made me question. Is that really possible? But at the same time, I don't really blame the author because at the end, these two are like very nitpicky points, and it is science fiction, so you should be able to pull things out of your ass as well. And maybe it's my ignorance that is the culprit here. It may not be. It may actually be possible. I don't know. But those are two things that I thought were a bit questionable in the science fiction terms of view. Point of view. Um, Other than that, I didn't find anything at all that really uh, bothered me while reading this. Uh, yeah, I think this is a book that everybody can read. You don't need to know much about science. You can just be somebody who is, just wanting something interesting to read, some interesting science fiction to read. This is a fantastic book. You should give it a try. Uh, I know it's not a hot take. People already know that, but I think let me go off a side tangent here. I think it's better if you read books before you watch movies. I think a lot of people came across this when the movie was released, when the movie starring Ryan Gosling was released recently. It was a good movie too, and the reason why I'd say that you should read the book usually first before watching the movie is because number one, when because you're adapting a book that has a lot of content in it. When you're trying to make it into a movie, you have to cut some parts out, and sometimes you would have to sacrifice certain, good moments in your book that aren't really necessary for the plot, to make the movie, not chunky, to not extend it beyond the 3 hour or 4 hour mark. So to get the full immersive experience, I think you need to first read the books. I think uh, for me, the first time that I experienced something like this was when I read Harry Potter. I first read the books before I saw the movie, and another big thing that I will use as an argument to support my point here is that it allows you to form your own world. When you read a book, what comes to your mind is in your own imagination, right? You make your own movie in your mind with all of the characters that are given to you, all of the descriptions that are given to you, all of that imagery, all of that beautiful stuff you are concocting in your mind. That is like limitless freedom to imagine, a wonderful world in your mind. When you are watching a movie, what you are witnessing is, the screenwriter's version, their take on the movie. So I think if you watch the movie first, but then and after that you start to read a book, you're when you imagine the world, it will be a bit more biased. You would be uh, inclined to more or less imagine things that you saw in the movie, instead of coming up with things of your own. So I think first read the book and then watch the movie. Now I haven't watched it, but yeah, it's a really good movie. Sorry, it's a really good book. So yeah, give it a try. Um, yeah, that's about it, I guess. Thank you.